Greetings and salutations, folks, and welcome once again, as always, to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. You join me today for day 22 of the UK lockdown, where currently I'm out and about taking my daily exercise, as always. I'm bringing you guys along for the ride. Now, today I've changed scenery a little bit. Normally, I would go to an area that's not too far away from my home address that I can travel to on foot, and I'd have a little bimble and I'd make a vlog. Well, today, Hot Potters, I've decided to make the short drive instead into the countryside. And the reason for that is twofold. Number one, I've brought little Lucy with me, my Labrador. She's back there, lagging behind a little bit. And secondly, I want to give the old jalopy a bit of a run because she's been stood idle on the drive for the majority of this lockdown period. I have been doing little short runs here and there, but normally we use the old family jalopy for the big shop and things like that. So my vehicle has not been doing many miles during this, and as everybody out there knows, if you don't run a vehicle, they start seizing up. They don't like it, do they? You know, if you've been away on holiday, as soon as you get back and you take the car out for the first time, it's crunching and grinding, isn't it? So I want to keep the old jalopy going, basically, so that's what I've done. I also want to keep the battery topped up. So, like I said, my reason has been twofold for coming out to the countryside today. Now, I know many of you out there have strong views on this. You know, you don't believe that people should be using the vehicles to travel to an area to exercise. However, we have exhausted this subject a little bit on Mr H's Hot Pot. It's not illegal, so I'd like to leave that subject there, if I may. I know many of you out there have your own ideas, your own thought process, your own ideas on everything and your own opinions, and you're entitled to them. But as I said, we have exhausted this subject, so I'd like to leave it here if I may. So folks, how are we all doing? Hope you're all keeping well and all that kind of good stuff, and you know, you're fettling okay. And speaking of fettling, I've managed to sort out the old selfie stick. Managed to get the glue out when I got home and patch it up, as many of you know. I was having problems with it. I had a plastic snap yesterday and it wasn't good. I had to balance the camera on, but we're good to go for day 22. And what does day 22 bring, Hot Potters? Well, it brings a strange period, doesn't it? It ushers in uncharted waters with this lockdown. Because yesterday, we was told that it was an initial 3-week period. And we've got to the end of that yesterday. So, now, we don't know how long this thing's going to go on for. I've no doubt that Parliament will get together and they'll issue us a new end date. But I don't know how you feel about this, Hot Potters, but my personal view on it is I'd rather be told straight. I'd rather them say, we estimate that the lockdown period needs to last 3 months, including the 3 weeks that you've already done. So we need to get into May before this thing will end. And I'd rather them say that than 3 weeks here, 3 weeks there, maybe another 3 weeks after that. I don't know, maybe you'd rather them tell you in piecemeal, and then that way it's shorter bites, a bit like being on a diet, you know. Get to a certain weight and then try and get to the next goal. Maybe that's easier for you to digest, I don't know, but personally speaking, I'd rather them just tell us. And I do think we're going to end up doing something like 3 months on lockdown. Because when you come to think, they was advising vulnerable people to stay indoors for 12 weeks at the beginning of this. So I think that's where this will go. If that's the case, that's the case, you know. I mean, I've rediscovered during this period the joy of just doing absolutely nothing. Just enjoying time with Mrs H and my son. You know, just playing and just idling the day away. You know, I've rediscovered that. But I must admit, there are things that I'm starting to miss. I mean, one of the guilty pleasures that me and Mrs H always did, even before we had a son or we had dogs or anything like that, what we would do, we would just take ourselves off to Blackpool. It's only a 40-minute drive away from where we live. We'd bounce down the old motorway and we'd go and enjoy a day in Blackpool. It didn't necessarily need to be a day like this either. Sometimes we'd just go and idle a few hours away on the penny slots, you know, and just enjoy each other's company. And I am missing that. And I think that'll be the first thing that we do when this lockdown period ends. We'll make for Blackpool and we'll enjoy it like we did in the old days, so to speak. You know, fish and chips on the seafront or something like that. And what's the thing that will get you through this? What's the thing that you're saying, when all this is over with, I'm going to go and do such and such a thing? What is it? Please leave your comments below. Now, one thing I'm not missing, surprisingly, is the old junk food. I mean, me and Mrs H, we used to go to McDonald's and Subway and grab a bite to eat as we was on the move, because we used to go up the Yorkshire Moors and things like that. And I've not missed that, I must admit. I've not missed it. No doubt I will return back to it, but I've not missed it as yet. So, folks, I see this tracing app is back in the media, isn't it? That's back in the news for all the wrong reasons as well. The idea was the NHS were going to launch this coronavirus tracing app, and people who have shown symptoms would be able to sign up, and then they'd enable Bluetooth on the device, and if you got close, or too close, to someone who'd had coronavirus, you'd be sent an alert, and then you could go and self-isolate. Well, all this was needed to be done anonymously. You didn't need to give any details. But the government wanted to put a clause into launching this app that they could unmask you and they could identify you. And I think straight away that's killed the app before it's even got off the ground. Because the whole idea is people didn't want that stigma of being identified, did they? So I think they've shot themselves in the foot with that one. Without taking a quick head count out there, I'm sure many people out there have said, no, not for me, and won't be signing up. I mean, I wouldn't have signed up to it anyway. I don't do apps and things on my phone. I'll be honest, I'm very old school with the telephone. I expect it to do what, Bell invented the device to do in the first place, which is call somebody. I don't have apps and stuff on my phone, so I wouldn't have signed up to it anyway, but I'm sure interest in that will have dropped dramatically. And I think they needed something like 60% of the population to sign up to it for it to be effective. Otherwise, they don't need bother launching it. And I think that's what will have happened with it. I think that story coming out, whether it's true or not, has killed it a little bit. Anyway, folks, how many of you out there have an older relative? You're looking after an older relative, who's self-isolating. My father, he's in his 80s now. And it was very difficult and very hard for him to give up his independence. When this first started off, I thought, I'll go gently with this. And I asked him, I said, what's your plans, Dad, on this? What do you plan doing? He says, well, what I'm going to do, lad, I'm going to get on bus, first thing in the morning, with my bus pass, and then I'm going to get out, go into town, get round as quick as I can, through Market Hall, and then get home. And I thought, I don't think it's going to work out that way, Dad. I says, do you not think you'd be better letting us do your shopping for the foreseeable future? You just stay indoors. And reluctantly, he let us do that. But it's pretty difficult because my dad has a set list. He set items he'll buy. And one of the things that jumps into my mind is Warburton tea cakes. He likes them. So you'll say to him, what if I can't get these, Dad? They don't have them at shop where I'm going or whatever. Well, I have Warburton's tea cakes. That's what I have. What if I can't get them? Do you want to try something else? No, don't want to try them. I only want them. But we've found that we've started slipping other items into his bag. Oh, Mrs H has, because she's been doing shopping in Furness, bless her. And we've found that he's starting taking to them. And he then puts them on list for the following week. So we're sort of opening his eyes to, you don't have to just have a standard list and that's what you eat day in, day out. And that's something that's good about this, really. We're all learning to adapt and try new things. I mean, the number of times Mrs H has said, we'll have such a thing for tea. And then when I've got there, she's made something totally different because she couldn't get what it was she initially wanted from the shop. So that's a good thing, really, trying different things. I mean, I must admit, this lockdown period, in the beginning, I was quite depressed with it, as I've pointed out in the past in these vlogs. But slowly, I'm getting used to it, and my head's getting round it, and I'm enjoying it, to be honest. Not the old bloody coronavirus thing, but the feeling of being together and being all in the same boat on something. I don't know if it's different. If you live in the city, you might be seeing something different to what I'm seeing in a town, but please leave your comments below. How are you finding this period? Do you think people are coming together a little bit more now, and we've got over that initial backbiting business? Or do you think people are still being selfish? As always, leave your comments below. Anyway, folks, I'm now coming up to the magic 10-minute mark, and that marks and signals the end of this particular vlog for day 22. So, folks, join me tomorrow for day 23, when, once again, I'll be giving you some of my thoughts and ideas on this lockdown period. So until then, Stay safe, and bye-bye for now.